don't recommend that you work with your husband, because I made him my manager. And then when I decided to divorce him, he had to be fired. In other words, I made him divorced and unemployed all in one day.
Kelvin fashion, he didn't keep his word on that. He'd rather spend that money on his side chick. Bought her a Ferrari as a push present, but that car, according to the Daily Mail, got repossessed the day after Wendy announced the divorce. You know you can't afford those type of toys, Kev.
Things around Wendy Williams are suddenly getting messy again, and this time the drama seems to be heating up behind the scenes. For a while, it looked like everyone connected to Wendy had gone quiet while she focused on her health and her future. But now new tension is popping up, and two names are right in the middle of it all: Kevin Hunter and Sharina Hudson. And from what people are saying, money might be the real reason things are falling apart. For years, Kevin Hunter played a major role in Wendy's personal and professional life. He wasn't just her husband at one point, he was also deeply involved in her business decisions. But after their split, that dynamic completely changed. Kevin was no longer controlling the business side of things, and Wendy's finances started being handled very differently. Now that Wendy might finally be stepping back into the spotlight again, some people believe Kevin suddenly wants to get close to that situation again. At the same time, there's talk that Shireena Hudson and Kevin Hunter are no longer on good terms. The tension between them is reportedly so strong that some insiders believe Shireena is doing everything she can to make sure Kevin doesn't regain any power or influence. One of the biggest claims floating around is that if Wendy ever allowed Kevin back into her inner circle, it could put her financial independence at risk again. Whether that warning is completely accurate or just part of the ongoing drama is something people are still debating. Another major piece of this story involves Wendy's guardianship situation.
Hi, Wendy.
This morning, the health and well-being of talk show icon Wendy Williams again being called into question as she fights to get free of her controversial conservatorship. She's seen here in the window of her assisted living facility in Manhattan, seemingly trying to get the attention of people on the street, at times looking distressed, at one point putting her hands up on the glass and reportedly dropping this handwritten note with the words, "Help, Wendy."
Wendy, how are you?
Wendy, what's going on?
Williams taken to the hospital Monday morning. You can see her here in this New York Post video as police and fire escort her to an ambulance, responding to a 911 call made for a woman in distress. Williams has been under a court-ordered guardianship since 2022. Williams' care team announcing in 2024 she was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia,
which has been a huge topic of discussion for years. Wendy was placed under a very strict guardianship after concerns about her health were raised. At the time, there were reports suggesting she might be dealing with frontotemporal dementia, which led to major restrictions over her personal and financial decisions. However, more recent updates have complicated that narrative. Wendy reportedly went through additional testing, and according to people close to her situation, those results did not show clear signs of that condition. Some observers believe the original concerns may have been connected to difficult personal circumstances at the time rather than a long-term medical issue. Because of that, there's now growing talk that the guardianship might not last much longer. Wendy's team has also hinted that she's been improving steadily.
Williams' husband has filed a $260 million lawsuit claiming that Wendy is being held against her will in an illegal guardianship, has caused all sorts of financial and emotional damage. Problem is, he's divorced from her and she doesn't like her much.
No, it was not a great divorce.
She didn't like him much.
And even though she's had to pay him out a whole lot of money over a lot of years, she doesn't want him a part of this, and you know this straight from the source.
Well, I know it straight from the source because before I talked to the source, meaning Wendy, it was just apparent to me. I mean, he's filing this as Kevin Hunter, her friend. I mean, when does a friend have standing to file a 200? She had no idea about this lawsuit.
Her current management has suggested that she's been working toward getting back to a place where she can return to television. And one interesting detail is that Debmar Mercury, the company that previously worked with Wendy, reportedly never completely closed the door on her comeback. They've left the possibility open if she decides she's she's ready to step back into the industry.
Wendy, can we get a smile right here? You look so good. Oh my God.
And if that happens, there could be a lot of money involved. Whether people loved her or criticized her, one thing almost everyone agrees on is that daytime television changed dramatically after Wendy left. Her style of commentary and celebrity discussions created a unique space that many viewers say hasn't truly been replaced. Now there's even more speculation because the daytime landscape is shifting again. With Sherri Shepherd's show reportedly ending, a major time slot has opened up. That has led many media watchers to wonder if Wendy Williams could possibly return to fill that space. And if a big comeback really is around the corner, it might explain why certain people from Wendy's past are suddenly trying to reconnect. Because when a major television return is on the table, the opportunities and money involved can become very hard for some people to ignore. And according to the chatter, Kevin Hunter might be one of the first people trying to find his way back into the picture. As the possibility of Wendy Williams returning to television starts gaining more attention, another familiar voice has suddenly popped back into the conversation: Kevin Hunter. And according to what he's been saying publicly, he believes Wendy might need someone she can trust as she rebuilds her career. In his view, that person could be him. Kevin has suggested that after everything Wendy has gone through, she'll eventually need someone reliable to help guide things again. And he points out that he once managed her career and business affairs for years. From his perspective, that history means he understands how her empire works better than most people. But not everyone is buying that argument. Many observers remember the very public breakup between Wendy and Kevin. Their relationship didn't just end quietly behind closed doors. It became a massive headline story after reports surfaced that Kevin had maintained a long-term relationship with another woman while still married to Wendy. The situation reportedly lasted for years and eventually led to a child being born from that relationship.
Shout out to my husband. I'm still wearing my ring. He's my best friend. He's my lover. He's all this and he's all that. I know what you've been seeing, and I knew what the streets have been talking about.
Wendy set the record straight on reports that her husband, Kevin Hunter, allegedly had a years-long affair with a massage therapist.
I am still very much in love with my husband, and anybody who's been married for 5 minutes or 500 years, you know, marriages have ebbs and flows. Marriages are not easy. Don't ask me about mine until you see this gone. And it ain't going anywhere.
She is tired of hiding the relationship, okay? She's tired of being a side bitch. She's tired of having abortions and shit like that. And she just wants Wendy out of the picture so that she can live her life out and free with her man and not have to sneak and meet Kevin in random places and shit like that, okay?
When those details became public, the trust between them was widely believed to be completely broken. Because of that history, some people watching the situation now are raising eyebrows at Kevin's sudden attempts to step back into Wendy's world. From a commentary standpoint, critics point out that this is the same man who previously sought financial support after their marriage ended, even while Wendy was dealing with serious health struggles and the beginning of her guardianship situation. Over the past few years, Kevin has also made several public moves that appear to position him as someone trying to help Wendy regain control of her life. At one point, he spoke out about the facility where Wendy had been staying and claimed she wanted to return home. He also filed a massive lawsuit, reportedly worth hundreds of millions of dollars, arguing that the guardianship arrangement surrounding Wendy was unfair. In that legal filing, Kevin even requested to be recognized as a representative who could help advocate for Wendy's interests. However, the court ultimately rejected that idea. The judge reportedly made it clear that Kevin was not in a position to take over any role connected to Wendy's guardianship. Still, just because those attempts didn't succeed doesn't mean Kevin completely stepped away from the situation. Some people believe he may still be trying to rebuild some kind of connection with Wendy, possibly through family ties or lingering emotional bonds from their long history together. Observers often point out that relationships spanning decades can leave complicated feelings behind even after major breakups. And this is where Shireena Hudson enters the conversation again. According to discussions circulating online, Shireena believes that Wendy reconnecting with Kevin could create serious problems. From her perspective, she has seen how Kevin operates behind the scenes, and she's reportedly warning that allowing him back into Wendy's inner circle could lead to financial trouble. What makes the situation even more complicated is how Shireena originally met Kevin. According to several accounts, Charlemagne Thagard introduced Shireena to Kevin years ago, back when Kevin and Wendy were still working closely together.
You know, Kevin's problem is that Kevin ended up getting with this girl. She made herself very available to him. She was very disrespectful to me.
I didn't even go back and forth with, oh, do we stay? Maybe there's a marriage counseling or something. No.
You know, I just felt like this wasn't for me, that, you know, I was eating a different lifestyle.
At that time, Shireena reportedly had completely different plans for her life. She was focused on building a career as a chef and had dreams of expanding a network of food trucks. But after Kevin entered the picture, the direction of her life appeared to shift dramatically. Kevin reportedly assured her that she would be taken care of and supported financially if she stayed close to him. And for a period of time, it seemed like he followed through on those promises. Now, with all these relationships colliding again while Wendy's future hangs in the balance, the situation has turned into a complicated mix of old loyalty, unfinished business, and the possibility of major money returning to the table. As more details about this complicated situation keep surfacing, a lot of attention has turned towards Shireena Hudson and the life she reportedly lived during the years Kevin Hunter was still married to Wendy Williams. According to various discussions and reports over time, Shireena was said to have been living a very comfortable lifestyle, while Kevin remained closely tied to Wendy's business and finances. People who followed the story closely often point out that Shireena appeared to have access to expensive cars, jewelry, and even a home. Critics have claimed that much of that lifestyle may have been supported by money connected to Wendy's earnings. Of course, the full details behind who paid for what have always been debated, but the perception created a lot of controversy around the situation. Some reports even suggested that when Kevin felt he didn't have enough cash available, items connected to Wendy's household were sometimes sold or removed so that money could be raised. Those claims have circulated widely in gossip circles, though like many celebrity stories, different versions of the events exist depending on who is telling it. What many observers find particularly sad about the situation is that Wendy reportedly trusted Kevin for a very long time. They had built both a marriage and a business partnership together, which meant she relied on him heavily when it came to managing finances and important decisions. Because of that trust, some commentators believe she may not have realized certain things were happening behind the scenes until much later. And even if Wendy had started to question things, some people speculate that Kevin already had ways to protect himself legally. Since they were married, many financial decisions could potentially be explained as shared property or authorized spending. In complicated relationships where business and marriage overlap, those boundaries can become very blurry. Another part of the story that has raised eyebrows involves a charity Kevin once operated. Certain critics online have questioned how that organization was used and whether some of the money connected to it went toward personal expenses or gifts. Again, these are claims that have circulated in celebrity commentary spaces rather than proven facts, but they've definitely fueled the ongoing discussion surrounding Kevin's role in Wendy's finances. Meanwhile, reports from people close to the situation suggested that Shireena Hudson was sometimes present during trips or vacations taken by Kevin and Wendy. According to those accounts, steps were taken to make sure Shireena and Wendy would never cross paths directly. Some stories even claim that Shireena had security nearby during certain events to prevent any awkward encounters. At the time, it appears Shireena may not have been too concerned about how things looked from Wendy's perspective.
My real name is Wendy Hunter.
Hunter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm divorced.
Yes.
He's got no money.
Yeah.
People discussing the situation often say Kevin repeatedly assured her that eventually he would leave Wendy and start a new life with her when the moment was right. From Sharina's viewpoint, those promises may have made the situation feel temporary. She reportedly believed that once Kevin separated from Wendy officially, their relationship would move forward openly. That expectation is believed to be one of the reasons she stayed involved with him for so many years. However, as the relationship dragged on for nearly a decade, some reports claim Sharina began questioning whether those promises would actually happen. That's when tensions behind the scenes allegedly started building. At one point, a photo of Sharina and Kevin together during a vacation reportedly made its way to a media outlet. Some observers believe that moment was meant to push the situation into the open and force long-awaited changes in Kevin and Wendy's marriage. And once that image started circulating publicly, the entire situation began unraveling in a way that would soon turn into one of the biggest scandals surrounding Wendy's personal life. As more pieces of this complicated story continue circulating online, some people believe Shireena Hudson eventually started seeing a very different side of Kevin Hunter than the one she had been promised for years. From her perspective, the future Kevin had talked about may not have been as real as she once believed. According to discussions surrounding the situation, Kevin had long suggested that one day he would leave Wendy Williams and start a new chapter with Sharina. That idea reportedly kept the relationship going for years. But over time, Sharina may have begun realizing that those promises weren't actually leading anywhere. After all, Kevin still had a very comfortable lifestyle connected to Wendy's career and success. Observers who follow celebrity relationships often point out that walking away from that kind of financial stability would have been extremely difficult for someone in Kevin's position. And if Wendy remained the primary source supporting that lifestyle, there would have been little incentive for him to completely cut ties. There are also claims that during the final stretch of Wendy and Kevin's marriage, confusing stories were being circulated in the media about the two of them possibly reconciling. Some commentators believe those rumors may have been attempts to pressure Wendy emotionally or create uncertainty while their divorce process was unfolding. Of course, with celebrity gossip, separating verified facts from speculation can be difficult, but those rumors definitely fueled public debate at the time. Meanwhile, Sharina's own situation with Kevin reportedly began changing once money became tighter and the relationship itself started feeling more unstable. At one point, people close to the story suggested she had considered returning to stay with her family as things between her and Kevin grew more strained. During that period, several disturbing allegations also surfaced about what might have been happening behind the scenes while Wendy and Kevin were still living together. Some individuals claim that Wendy's health struggles may have been worsened by the stressful environment surrounding her.
Wendy Williams is locked in a room in an assisted living facility in New York. That's her. The only way I could interview her was to have a camera in the street because we can't get a camera in. She can't really have any visitors. She cannot go outside. She's been out twice in the last 30 days. She has no internet. She, and I think rightly, says she feels like a prisoner. Are you allowed to go out?
No. In the last 30 days, I went out twice.
She is in a guardianship. And I got to tell you, Lauren, if you saw the Lifetime documentary on her when she was deep into alcohol a couple of years ago, it made sense to have a guardianship. Wendy is sober now. She is fine. I have spoken with her for hours and hours, as have many others. And everybody comes up with the same conclusion. She's back to the old Wendy. Yet, she's not only in a guardianship, it's a guardianship that has essentially locked her up and thrown away the key. She has been diagnosed with something called frontotemporal dementia. That's what Bruce Willis has.
However, it's important to note that many of these claims have circulated mainly through online discussions and media commentary rather than being fully proven in court. There were even stories suggesting that authorities had once been contacted to check on Wendy's well-being. According to those reports, when officials arrived, Kevin reportedly stayed very close to Wendy during the interaction, which made it difficult for them to speak with her privately. Again, these accounts come largely from secondhand sources and remain part of the broader speculation that has followed the situation for years. Another claim that has occasionally surfaced in conversations about the relationship is that arguments between Kevin and Wendy may have become intense at times. Some people believe Wendy may have tried to protect Kevin publicly despite those tensions, which isn't unusual in long relationships where partners are deeply connected both emotionally and financially. Now that talk of Wendy Williams returning to television is gaining momentum again, many observers feel strongly that reconnecting with Kevin could reopen old problems. Whether people support Wendy or criticize her past choices, one thing most agree on is that she deserves a fresh start without the drama that surrounded her previous marriage. Even Shireena Hudson, despite all the controversy surrounding her role in the story, appears to believe Kevin should not regain influence over Wendy's life again. From her viewpoint, she may feel that Kevin misled her for years while benefiting from the same situation. If Wendy truly is preparing for a comeback, it could mark a new chapter where she finally moves forward independently. And for someone who built one of the most recognizable voices in daytime television, many viewers believe she still has the ability to rebuild, this time with fewer complications around her and a clearer path ahead. By the time everything started unraveling, many people believe Shireena Hudson had already begun to see Kevin Hunter very differently than she did at the beginning of their relationship. For years, she was reportedly told that a future together was coming soon. Kevin allegedly reassured her again and again that one day he would leave Wendy Williams and they would finally build their life openly. But as time passed, that promise never really seemed to move any closer to reality. From the outside looking in, some commentators now say it appeared Kevin was comfortable maintaining two completely different worlds at the same time. On one side was the life connected to Wendy's career, her television success, and the financial stability that came with it. On the other side was the private relationship he had built with Shireena, which he reportedly continued to support with expensive gifts and a certain lifestyle. Eventually, Shireena may have started noticing that things weren't adding up the way she expected. According to people who have followed the situation, Kevin had previously claimed he was putting money aside for their future together. But when the financial situation became tighter and the relationship between them became strained, some observers say Shireena began realizing that those plans might not have been as solid as she thought. Around the same time, media outlets began reporting confusing rumors suggesting that Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter might possibly reconcile. Some commentators believe those stories may have been planted or exaggerated in order to influence Wendy emotionally during the divorce process. Whether that was the intention or not, those reports definitely added more confusion to an already complicated situation. As Shireena reportedly considered stepping away from the relationship and returning to stay with her family, new claims began circulating about what might have been happening behind the scenes while Kevin and Wendy were still living together. Some individuals have suggested that Wendy's health struggles may have been affected by stress and difficult circumstances during that period. One particularly serious allegation that circulated online suggested that Wendy may not always have been fully aware of everything happening around her during those years. However, it's important to point out that many of these claims remain part of ongoing speculation and commentary rather than confirmed legal findings. There were also stories claiming that authorities were once contacted to check on Wendy's well-being. According to those accounts, when officials arrived at the residence, Kevin remained very close to Wendy during the interaction, which reportedly made it difficult for them to speak with her privately. Like many elements of this story, these details have largely come from secondhand reports and remain part of the broader discussion rather than verified conclusions. Now that there are growing signs Wendy Williams could eventually return to television, many fans are hoping that her next chapter will look very different from the last one. After years of personal challenges, business setbacks, and public scrutiny, a comeback could represent a chance for her to regain control of both her career and her life. And when people look back at everything that happened between Wendy, Kevin Hunter, and Shireena Hudson, the biggest lesson some commentators take away is how complicated relationships can become when personal loyalty, money, and business are all tied together. If Wendy truly does make her return to daytime television, many supporters believe it could be the start of a much stronger phase, one where she moves forward independently, focuses on her health, and rebuilds the success that once made her one of the most talked about voices in entertainment. After everything that's come out over the years, a lot of viewers feel like Kevin Hunter's apologies wouldn't really change much at this point. Many people believe the choices he made were not random mistakes, but decisions that played out over a very long time. His relationship with Shireena Hudson, the child they share, and the drama surrounding Wendy Williams have all been discussed publicly for years now. Because of that history, plenty of fans think Wendy's best move would be to keep her distance and focus on rebuilding her own life. If she truly is preparing for a return to television, this could be the perfect moment for her to move forward with a clean slate and leave the old chaos behind. But what do you think about the situation? Should Wendy stay far away from Kevin for good, or do you believe there's still room for closure between them? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because this conversation is definitely not over. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of the drama, make sure to like the video, share it with someone who follows celebrity news, and subscribe for more stories like this. Also, check out the next video you see on the screen for even more celebrity drama. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.